Hi there, this is Jim Walker with Jim Walker Archery. So today I'm going to talk about gap shooting. And as you see behind me here, there are a couple of sets of arrows in the target already. So let's talk about those and how and why they're there. Okay, so here's our target, and you see those two sets of arrows there. Well, they have a meaning. Notice how one of them has 5 and one has 7.5. Well, that stands for 5 yards, and 7.5 stands for 7.5 yards. So when I have a new bow and a new limbs like I have now, the first thing I want to do is figure out what my gap is. What I did here is that I shot at the center, and my group from 5 yards away arrives here at 6 inches. I then shot at the center and at 7.5 yards, and my group arrives here at 3, 6, 9 inches. Pretty amazing. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you what a 10-yard pointing at my point at the center. I'm going to shoot at 10 yards, and then we're going to find our group. So here we go. Okay, so I just shot my 10-yard group, and as you can see, the points are very close at 7.5 in that area. Now, what I'm going to do is, because I always want to be certain that my release wasn't the problem, so we're going to do this one more time. Okay, so just finished my 10-yard shots, and I'm going to learn something interesting. So notice how far the 5-yard is from the center, and notice how far the 7.5 and 10-yard are from the center. They're the same. Okay, so what does this tell me? It tells me at 5 yards that I need to shoot 6 inches below the target in order to hit dead center, and at 7.5 yards and 10-yard shots I need to shoot 3, 6, 9 inches. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to demonstrate that now. At 10 yards we're going to shoot 3, 6, 9 inches below center and see what happens. Okay, so we just finished our 10-yard shots, and as you can see, I placed this little red marker right around here at the 3, 6, 9 mark, and that's what I aimed at. And so by aiming at that, I'm able to get a perfect 9-inch center shot. So that's gapping. Now we're going to get a little bit more crazy, and we're going to push it out to 15 yards and try to figure out where our gap is at 15 yards. Okay, that was interesting. So, stepped out to 15 yards and aimed at the center, which is here, right in here. And then notice where the arrows hit. They hit 3, 6, 9. So I let that sink in a little bit. The arrows hit at 3, 6, 9. Remember, 7.5 to 10 yards was also 9. So that means that my gap is at the same place, right in here, for 7.5 yards, 10 yards, and 15 yards. Now, your bow and your limbs are going to be different based on the draw weight. Now, my draw weight's in that 40-42 range for this bow. So 5 yards is going to be 6 inches, and 7.5 through to 15 yards is roughly 9 inches. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so now we're going to get crazy. We're going to go out to 20 and see what happens. Now, the difference between the 10 and the 15 yards is the 20 is a little bit less accurate, so we're really going to be focusing on our group placement as opposed to a single arrow placement. So I may shoot more than a couple of arrows to kind of get a general idea of where my arrows fall when I put my point on the center of the target. So here we go. So we just shot our 20-yard set, so let's see how she looks. Now again, the goal here is to check out our group placement. This one on the bottom was a throwaway, so let's give up on that one. You know, these others are interesting because, as you can see, 3, 6, 9. Again, between 6 to 9 inches is where all of they fall, right above the point of the target. So what does that mean? Well, that means that at 7.5 yards, it's roughly 9. And at 10 yards, it's roughly 9. And at 15 yards, it's roughly 9. And at 20 yards, it's roughly 9. All right. Well, it's pretty good, right? 7.5 through 20 is roughly going to hit the same range. Now, when I get out to 25 yards and 30 yards, then it's going to start drastically getting smaller and smaller until I get out to 30 yards where my point on is at. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to do some demonstrations of shooting at essentially a moving target. And we're going to gap shoot, and we're going to gap based on the number of inches that we just learned is our gap for the different ranges. All right, so I'm going to drop off here, and we're going to do some shooting. Introducing you to YoYo. YoYo is kind of a hanging target out on our range here, and you'll notice that I put my little tape up, and the 6-inch mark is at the very bottom of the tape, and about 3 inches below that is 9. So notice the line 3 inches below is the one that's hanging. So now I'm going to step back because I marked my range at 5 yards, 10 yards, and 15. Okay, so we're now at 5 yards. Notice where that plastic bottle is at. Notice where that plastic bottle is at. Let's move back. Okay, we're now at 10 yards. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And notice where that plastic bottle is at. That plastic bottle is not at the 9, it's at the 12. It's literally, as I'm looking here, it's at the 12. Remember that. And step back to 15. Alrighty. Okay, now the difference is that I've kind of gone up on a hill. So our goal is to shoot at the line right below my line of sight. That plastic bottle is just a little bit above. So if I wanted to shoot my gap of 9 inches, then I would shoot at right below that plastic bottle. Now I can get more exact, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to bring that plastic bottle right down to the 9 mark so you can see what happens at 10 yards. Okay, we've gone back to our 10 yards, and you'll notice that the 9-inch is still hanging there. So, and with the plastic bottle at 10 yards is actually much lower. So if I want to go back to 15, watch what happens. All right, so at 15 yards, that plastic bottle is literally right below the 9 mark. So what I do when I'm gap shooting is I find that 9 inches below spot on the ground, and that's where I'm going to shoot at. So in this case, I'm going to shoot at the top of the plastic bottle, which is 9 inches, in order to hit the center of the target. So here we go. So as you saw, those 3 arrows hit pretty close to center on the hanging target. So I'm going to step back to the 15 yards where I was shooting from one more time, and we're going to show you where that plastic bottle is at. Okay, I'm going to zoom in and focus, and you'll see that plastic bottle is roughly right there at the 9 inches below the target, which is where I aimed. So I aimed at the plastic bottle and I got dead center on my 3D target. Now I can continue this whole process of getting my gap at different ranges. I can go all the way out to 50 yards and identify where my gap is, but I think you get the idea at this point that establishing your gap is just simply a matter of going up to a target, aiming at putting your point on and aiming at the center, and then watching where the arrow lies, and then adjusting your aim for the opposite of that point. That is all gap shooting is for 3D archery. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of fun with YoYo, and I'm going to do a little bit more shooting here just for fun. You have a great day. Four shots, 4 kills. Well, looks like 5 shots, 1 dead center.